Hi, and welcome to this short video or a series of short videos around childhood anxiety. I'm Jacci Jones. I'm a psychotherapist and coach based in Lancashire in the UK, and I just wanted to introduce myself to you before I get started. So I qualified as a nursery nurse a long time ago. It's probably about 30 years since I did my nursery nurse training. I then started to work out in the community with Stafford College. I've worked in schools, I've worked in special needs schools, I've worked in mainstream schools, breakfast clubs, after school clubs. I then went on to foster. I was a foster carer for 13 years before I started doing my psychotherapy training. So I've got a wide variety of experiences of working with a wide variety of children. So I just wanted to let you know a little bit about my background before I went into talking about childhood anxiety. And as a psychotherapist and coach, I work alongside parents and children in a variety of settings. But I've recently started to be an ambassador for My Mental Health Rocks, which is a wonderful non-profit organisation that goes into schools in lots of areas, or it did before we ended up where we are at the moment. As I'm recording this, we've just gone into another lockdown, our second lockdown in the UK. So I think a lot of us as parents and carers and teachers, frontline workers, are wondering how are we going to get through this. Not only often are we dealing with our own anxiety, but we're seeing behaviour changes in the children that we're caring for. And I think that's why I wanted to do this video and why I was asked to do this short course or series of videos. So bear with me, because I might talk about some things that you think this has got nothing to do with anxiety. I want a quick fix. Give me 10 top tips on how I can, one, see if my child is anxious, and two, what do I do about it? Which is brilliant, and hopefully you will get some of that from these videos. But for me, that's looking downstream. When we're feeling anxious, when we're feeling overwhelmed, when we're feeling stressed and all those things, as adults and children, we're kind of already in the feeling. We're down at the bottom of the stream. So we need something, or we feel that we need something that's going to help us, that's going to get us out of that. And one of the things that I wanted to explore with you today is to look at what happens upstream, to look at what happens before we get to the place where we're feeling anxious, where we're feeling stressed, where we're feeling all these overwhelming thoughts. So in order to do that, I want to talk a little bit about mental health. And what are our thoughts around mental health? What is mental health? And how do we explain and explore that to the little people in our life, to the children? So if you're a parent, a teacher, a carer, do you discuss things like this with the children that you look after or that you have in your life? Children are really good at letting us know when physically there's something wrong with them. Often we can see that. You know, if a child falls over and grazes their knees or cuts themselves, there's an obvious thing that we can see. And, you know, we might put plaster on it, or, you know, take them to the doctors and things like that. But when we're talking about mental health, often it can be the unseen. We don't actually know what's going on a lot of the time. And the children that we're working with don't either, because it's not explored, it's not talked about. Often with children, you know, and adults, when we talk about mental health, they will talk about stress, anxiety, depression, overwhelm, overthinking, all the negative things. So I wanted to just talk a little bit about how I explain this to children and what I see mental health is. So first off, mental health is something that we're born with. We don't acquire it. We don't go to school and suddenly get qualified in mental health. It's something that we're all born with. We're all born with the same amount. I don't feel that people are born with more than other people. It's kind of a standard thing that we have. And it's something like a net that's underneath us that is always there, and it catches us. It's that inner knowing that I'm going to be okay through this. So the more we explore this with our children, and the more that we can talk about our mental health, I think it lessens the impact and the fear and the overthinking when we do end up at the bottom of the stream. As parents and as adults and as children, knowing how it all works can kind of take away some of the pressure and the stress around that. So I talk with children, about what is our mental health, that we're born with it, that we can't lose it. We can't break our mental health. It doesn't suddenly disappear. We can forget that we've got it. We can, when things are overwhelming and there's lots of chaos and things going on for us, or we're thinking a lot, we forget that we've got the ability to be okay in all of this. So that's the first thing that I wanted to talk about. We can't do anything to increase our mental health, the level of our mental health, but what we can do is learn more about it and our awareness of what it is. So with children, I talk about resilience and wisdom and the ability to be calm and the ability to have confidence, the ability to have, gratitude and all these things. Those are all part of our mental health. Those are all parts that we can pull on when we need them, as adults and as children. And with children, one of the ways that I explore this with them is to talk about superpowers. I've got a t-shirt on today that says, "What's your superpower?" in a big rainbow. And that's one of the things, is that I describe this to children as having the superpower of resilience and the superpower of calm and the superpower of having wisdom. And then explore with them, how does that look for you? When were you last resilient? And talk to them about what resilience means. Some people think that resilience is kind of bounce back ability, or that we're strong and we fight through things and strength. Whereas for me, resilience can be just keeping going. Resilience can be knowing when the time is to do something different, that what I'm doing isn't working, so I need to connect with my resilience to do something different, which might be scary, which can cause us to be anxious, but that's my resilience inside. Same as creativity with children is a wonderful thing to explore with them around mental health, that we can be creative when we're finding solutions. What we might think is the only solution is because it's the only one we know in that moment. So we keep trying to do the same thing over and over. But creativity, or the superpower of creativity that children can use, can be looking outside the box and trying something different. If something's happened and the way that we deal with it is to be angry, then finding a new way of getting through that other than using anger can be showing creativity. It's interesting when you're working with children that they come up with some amazing ideas on, if I wasn't doing that, how could I get through this? What could I do? And the more you start the conversations with children about mental health and get them to just look a little bit about their feelings and emotions. I talk with children about, how were you feeling before you came and you were seeing me? What were you feeling? And they were, "Oh yeah, I was really scared. I didn't want to come. I didn't think I'd like you." And there's all these thoughts and feelings that go on for them. And then when I say to them, "How do you feel now?" And they're like, "Oh, I'm really enjoying it. It's brilliant. You're not what I expected." Then I can go on and talk about how our thoughts create our feelings, and that we build up stories around certain things. If I'm a child and I've stood in the dinner queue, say for example, and I started to feel a bit anxious while I was in that dinner queue, then I start to connect that up, that every time I go to the dinner queue, I'm going to feel a little bit anxious. And we build up stories around certain things. So again, when I'm talking about mental health, I explore these things with the children. These can be quite in-depth concepts as adults that we can learn about and we can explore, but children are really good at picking up on things, especially when we start to get them to engage in their own experiences. Tell me a time when you felt calm, and what was that like? Tell me a time where you felt really confident about what you were doing, and get them to make it into a superhero. You can, if you work in a school, you can use this as a lesson or an art class or something. Draw what you think resilience is. Give it a colour. What colour would it be if you were talking about resilience, or if you were talking about calm, or if you were talking about creativity. I think that's one of the reasons why, you know, the rainbow is quite a symbol, because there's lots of vibrant colours in it. So when I'm talking about creativity, for me, there's lots of colours in it. Get the children to design something, and see how they explore mental health. But the more we talk about mental health and what that is and how we all have access to it, then we can talk about that when they're at the bottom of the stream, when things are starting to impact them, or they're feeling overwhelmed with certain thoughts and feelings. And at the moment, I think fear and anxiety is one of the things that an awful lot of children are starting to express and experience. So I'm going to just do a little recap, and then I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to focus a little bit more on anxiety in young people, and indeed ourselves, and what we can do to help them through that and explore that with them. So talking about mental health, 1, we're all born with it. 2, we can't break it, we can't lose it. What we can do is forget that we've got it. And 3, it's just understanding that at times our state of mind, the way that we feel, it moves and it shifts and it changes from moment to moment. But underneath all of that, we've got the safety net of our mental health, and the ability to be resilient, to be calm, to be creative, to access our wisdom, to find a new way of being. And that's something that we can explore with our children. And they're really, really up for the quest and to explore that, surprisingly enough. So I shall be back on the next video to talk a little bit more about different feelings and emotions, and anxiety being one of them, and how children can sometimes display this in a classroom or at home. And I shall speak to you soon.